for everyone, my name is Danny Gredenberg. I'm with the Database Enhancement Gateway. Got a good friend here, Dan Wold with NCS Single Source. Dan, thanks for coming and joining me today, because as an estimator, in the repair environment, we're using a lot of products in the repair process. It's more than just paint. And a lot of it comes down to capturing it on your repair plan. There's different ways to do so. So Dan, what are you seeing out there? And maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what you guys have to offer through your company.
Certainly. So, in time, we went from a period where we did what I would call the standard itemization, right, or the standard deduction, where there were, whether it be for paint materials, right, you got an hourly rate and a certain dollar amount for that hourly rate, and that would be the standard amount, right? And if it would go in excess of that, then you would get to be able to itemize it. You'd itemize everything, right, and be able to collect the additional that was used. Body materials and recoverables are kind of the same thing, right? The standard amount of $10 for seam sealer or $5 for corrosion protection. If you actually use those products, you're going to use quite a bit more, right? And you may use 3 to 5 products for every process, right? It's like corrosion protection or seam sealer. And so there's an opportunity right now to itemize every one of those costs of what you did and be able to provide an invoice, right, and bill for those.
No, absolutely. I've seen the invoicing softwares out there, just being able to capture all those, little, the drill bits, the sandpapers, even down to the seam sealer, per, how much you're using of that tube. So, we're seeing more, more use of those programs out there, being able to capture it. As far as, from a technician standpoint, what are you guys seeing out there? What do you suggest to shops? Do you just have an open shelf, let them grab everything they want, or what are some things that shops are doing within their own parts departments to help distribute those products within their techs?
Certainly. So there's a couple ways. One way, kind of the old way, right, would be everybody, the estimators put what they think needs to be on there. They create an estimate or an invoice, right, for that product, and they bill it out, and then the tech uses what they use. And it usually isn't a very accurate way, and there's not a lot of accountability of what we charge, what we put on the car, and what that looks like at the end of the month. So different ways, like you mentioned, parts departments, they do maybe the best way, right? And I think this comes from like an idea, almost like a restaurant or a bar. If you go to an Applebee's or you go to a Chili's, you'll always notice that the waitress comes and takes the order for the drinks, but they're not able to pull the beer, even if it's a closed bottle, right, out of the fridge. They have to go and they have to put it in the system, right? Once it's in the system, then the bartender then goes and opens the fridge, right? Sometimes there's up to 25-minute delay waiting for the beer, right, from when it goes in. But, right, the process is so important that they get compensated for that, right, and that it goes on the invoice. They create a process. What's that look like for us? We're working on something right now. It's kind of a trial where we're doing recoverable cabinets. And so we take, first off, we take anything that is considered a recoverable, those seam sealers, acid brushes, all those types of items. We work with the shop manager and we come up with a list. Then we find a spot where those are gonna go. We've had a lot of success in blueprinting stalls where they do really good jobs of blueprinting and making sure that everything that's damaged is accounted for right at the beginning. We'll put one of those lock cabinets there. Make sure there's a spot for every one of those items, and then just like a parts department or Applebee's, for that product to go on the vehicle, right, it has to come out of that cabinet. To come out of that cabinet, it has to have an invoice.
Absolutely.
So a couple options there.
That's great stuff. And even now we talked about the body repair stage, but even like in the paint department, there's a lot of other things beyond just what goes on the scale, right? The liquids are obviously we know those liquids are fairly costly stuff, but we're talking about the razor blades, the cups, and just everything involved in the painting process. Even like the tapes and the masking supplies. The list goes on. Is it uncommon for it to for these things to far exceed what the hourly rate would be, and what are we seeing out there as far as the success rate, maybe of shops getting reimbursed based on using an invoicing software?
Certainly. So for recoverable materials, I would say it's probably the lowest hanging fruit. It's one of the easiest things, right? It's certain that you needed to do it. It's certain that you did it, right? And now there needs to be a cost associated with it, and you have an actual invoice, right? Especially from a third-party provider. Yep. So getting reimbursed is probably the easiest part. But again, it's going to take process to set processes in the shop. How does that get added to how does it get added to your estimate? How does it get billed, right? And how does it actually verify that it was performed?
Absolutely. For those out there, even things like seam sealer, the mixing nozzles, the acid brushes, the rags. I mean, the list can go on. So I mean, we really need to account for all those little things. And like I said, sometimes we look at a product as a big picture item, but there's obviously a lot of smaller little things that we have to keep accounting for. When it comes down to OEM recommendations, obviously we want to use the products that are recommended by the OEMs and everything like that. But a lot of times, they're going to say, go to your local supplier and and get the spec-based product and ensure that you're using it. I love itemizing everything. Obviously it tells a story of what you used on the vehicle. You obviously show what was used, but also, like I said, at the end of the day, the shop is going to benefit. They're going to profit from the materials. Because I mean, materials is a profit. I mean, it should be a profit center within the shop, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was guilty at one point. Just at one point, I allowed my technicians just to come and grab stuff off there, and the light came up and said, why am I just giving it away? And, it worried me when I saw at the end of the month, I saw, why is my outgoing, more than my incoming receivables? So, like I said, it's been good stuff. What are some other things that you can suggest to a repair or a shop? Just getting into it, and starting the process.
Sure. So first off, invoicing, right? We probably need a software. We need something to know what our list of prices are. So to start there, I mean, you could go and get maybe like an Excel form and put in what the list price is for all the products that you're using. It's time consuming, and it probably, every time there's a price increase, you're going to have to search it out. So there's software solutions. There's a couple. 3M does a really good job with the crimp tool. The TIM, Norton has products. You do it with the TIM. Of course, NCS has Logic, right?
Okay.
Which we use. I'm partial to Logic. What is important, though, when you look for a system is that you're able to, first off, invoice all products, right? So you may have, in most cases, you may be a 3M shop, and you may decide that 90% of everything you use is 3M. You're going to use it when you can, unless when a manufacturer recommends something else. Well, in those cases, you want a software that could give you the price of what the seam sealer is, or whatever the comparable one is. So make sure that whatever software program you use, you're able to put in all different brands, right? Not just one or two.
And the Logic system, you can put your own products in there, it sounds like?
Yes, so everything NCS sells is going to be in there, and it's going to be updated. So there's over 40,000 part numbers. We pretty much have everything in there.
So it sounds like you guys make it easy for your customer at the end of the day to have a lot of the numbers in there, and it's a good baseline and starting point to get into that world of invoicing. What else are we seeing out there as far as the cabinets? You mentioned something about the cabinet. What does that look like out there?
Sure. So cabinets, we're all about organization, right? Having a spot for everything you use and making sure you have a quantity that will get you to your next delivery window, right? Prevent interruptions, make sure you're using the right stuff for the right project. Again, we'll have all of those products loaded into Logic with the pricing and things like that. Something, again, we talked about pricing, and that is super important. Almost everywhere I go where I see people that are invoicing, if they don't use an electronic system or the electronic system isn't live, the pricing that they're billing out will sometimes be 5 or 8 years old.
Okay. So, as we start wrapping things up here, and like I said, I'm geeking out over this, these cabinet systems, and it sounds like, as, you can inventory manage things, and almost like, as you're pulling things out of the cabinet, almost like the system can notify, hey, I'm running low, and the orders.
Oh, auto order, yeah.
Auto order, and things are showing up without having to manage that the inventory of your own shop. It sounds like it's an efficient standpoint. You're taking something off your parts guy's, your parts person's plate right there. So, I think that's a pretty cool way of, getting products on demand. I'm like I said, I'm a big proponent when it comes down to itemizing the materials, getting it captured on your repair plan, and obviously making some money. The way as repairers, we're in business. We have to sell it, and it should be a profit center. It shouldn't be something that just walks out the door or leaves the repair. So, again, Dan, I want to thank you very much for your time here today, and I hope as repairers, we can move forward and look at different solutions to that. So, again, thank you very much for your time, and let's have a great show.
Thank you, Danny.
All right.